Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, if you are listening to the sound of my voice, then you're tuned in to another episode of Marking Out Amongst Friends, the podcast. You know me, it's your boy Jay Reddy in the building, your host with the most. In the building, I also have my wonderful co-hosts, Lady Great One and Mr. VIP. Say hi to the people.
What's
Hello,
up? What's
hello.
up? What's up?
Also, we have a special guest in the building. It seems like we always having new folks in the building, but this guest is very near and dear to my heart. This is my brother. Uh, couldn't get no closer if it was blood. Y'all, welcome to the show, Mr. Hollow in the building. Speak to the
Yo,
people.
what up? What up? What up? What up? What up? Glad to be here, man. Glad to be here.
You know, man, this always feels good. One of the great things about this show, one of the things that I love about doing this show, is getting to do this with people that I've done this with for years and off air. And it's just, it comes full circle to be able to do this on air with people, with these same folks that I've grown up with. I've known all of y'all for years. You know, wrestling brought us together. Wrestling is the thing that ties us all together that we all enjoy, and I wouldn't rather do this with anybody else. But enough with all that sentimental stuff. I got a new game for y'all this week. We're going to start us a new segment. It's a little game that I created called the Hall of Fame game. Now, this game inspired to me by the return of the NFL last week. The first preseason game was the Hall of Fame game. And I said, it made me think. We always have a lot of comments on the WWE Hall of Fame. Some people think that it's not legitimate. Some people think that there are people that are in the Hall of Fame that shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, and there are people who are not in the Hall of Fame that should be in the Hall of Fame. So I'm going to play a little game tonight with some of the most popular names that are not in the Hall of Fame. And what we're going to do is we're going to put one of these guys in the Hall of Fame. But if you know me, it's always a catch. So I'm not just going to give you one person. I'm going to put two people that aren't already in the Hall of Fame up against each other. And we're going to figure out who we're going to put in the Hall of Fame. And we're also going to give you why we're snubbing the other person and not putting them in the Hall of Fame. Oh, we're going to have some fun with this one. You guys ready?
Ready?
Let's go.
Y'all ready? Y'all ready to give some wrestling opinions and whatnot?
Oh hell yeah!
All right. So the first matchup that I'm gonna bring to you guys is gonna be of the tag team persuasion. So two tag teams that aren't in the Hall of Fame already. I'm gonna give you on one side the Hardy Boys. Probably, if not the best, one of the best tag teams that have ever been in WWE since their original debut. And I'm going to put up another team that one might say should have already been in there in the Steiner brothers. So the Hardys versus the Steiner brothers. One goes in, one goes out. Hollow, you're new to the show. I'm going to break you in. We're going to let you go first. So between those two teams, the Hardy Boys and the Steiner brothers, who you putting in the hall? Who's getting snubbed?
Definitely the Steiner brothers for me are going into the Hall of Fame, and unfortunately, the Hardy Boys are getting snubbed.
So why the Steiner brothers? Why do you pick the Steiner brothers? Why are they going in the hall?
I feel that the Steiner brothers they went up against a lot more, formidable tag teams. I feel like the tag teams that they actually beat to either retain titles or to get the titles, you know, in singles competition, those people that came together to form teams, if they wasn't already teams, they were better than the Steiner brothers. So for the Steiner brothers to get victories over their opponents, I just think that that speaks more volumes. We're talking Sting, we're talking names like Brian Pillman, Ric Flair, um, VIP's favorite Larry Sabisco, Barry Windham, Sid
Oh,
Vicious, you know, things,
no, you
names
didn't.
and names names like that. You know what I'm saying? Because out of those names alone, VIP would say that Larry Sabisco should be a Hall of Famer by himself. You
No,
know,
he should
so
not.
that's why he is the living legend,
Trash.
Larry Sabisco. So
Okay.
talent wise, I just feel like they fought harder opponents
Okay.
to achieve what they achieved in wrestling.
Okay. So that tells me what the edge that you're giving and putting the Steiner brothers in. So what did the Hardy Boys do to not make it?
I just think that they were glorified in one specific genre. And during their tag team run, people wanted to see Jeff more than they wanted to see Matt. And it was the same thing with the Hardy Boys. You had some people who just wanted to see the dog faced gremlin bark in the ring. And then you had some people who just wanted to see, Scott Steiner because he had the mullet and, the pretty boy kind of approach or whatever. And then people just wanted to see certain moves. So I just think that the Hardy Boys, if you take away the hardcore TLC aspect, what do you really have, as far as their legacy as the Hardy Boys?
Okay. Okay. All right, Mr. VIP, we'll move on to you. Hardys versus Steiners. Who's in there? Who's out of there?
That is a hard one. I think I'm gonna have to go with the Steiner brothers as well. They were a legendary tag team um, for many years. Um, Plus, you can't deny that Scott Steiner pretty much brought the Frankensteiner to America. Um, Before that, you had never seen anybody do it, and until Rey Mysterio and them came, it was always called the Frankensteiner, no matter who did it. Um, that shows how much of an influence he had. And like I said, everybody loved the dog faced gremlin. Um, they were just entertaining and innovative for their time.
Okay. Okay. All right, I can get with that. I can get with that. Um, so what are you going to say if you're putting the Steiners in? So what's the knock against the Hardys? The reason why they don't get in? Why are we snubbing the Hardys?
With Snubbing the Hardys, I think like Hollow said, it's basically they were they were mostly known for like the hardcore, high flying TLC matches. If you took those away, um, it's hard to remember matches in their career without just naming the TLC with them. Jeff jumping off of 30-foot ladders and stuff. Um, as a team, you mainly only remember what Jeff did, um, and Matt was, the guy that wrestled. He did a leg drop, but it really wasn't nothing known for until he became singles later on. So as a team, um, I think the Steiners were a better team.
Okay. Okay. All right. So Lady Grape, we're gonna move on to you. Steiner brothers versus the Hardys. Who's getting in? Who's getting out?
Okay. Well, I hate to break up the party, but I'm gonna have to put in the Hardys first. I'm not saying that the Steiners don't belong, but I'm gonna have to put in the Hardys. Over the span of ever since I fell in love with wrestling, that has been the Team Extreme, the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff, whatever you want to call them. They set a new standard of modern day tag teams. Now, I'm not saying that the Steiner brothers didn't do their job for their time. I mean, obviously, like it was already stated before, the Steiner brothers were responsible for making AKA the Frankensteiner. That match, I mean, that move right there is synonymous with wrestling. However, I'm just saying from a I'm the oldest one of us, but I'm actually the youngest wrestling related, so to speak, in comparison to all of you guys. But Matt and Jeff, to me, like what they've accomplished as single stars, as well as a tag team, gives them a little bit more of a push to be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion, before the Steiner brothers. So if I offended anybody, I do apologize, but this is just my opinion, my personal point of view, because I'm Spurs and Curves coming at you.
No doubt, no doubt. So you're putting the Hardys in. We talked about what the Hardys did. So what's it about the Steiners that say, y'all don't do it for me? You're getting snubbed. Try again next year.
Well, the only reason why I don't say the Steiners is because of really Scott Steiner's antics and the other things that he's done. We all saw that disgraceful, horrible video. Now, I'm not saying as a tag team though. I can't really like put that on Rick as well, but that horrible rambling on. I'll give 60% whatever world he was saying, trying to relay some 33 and a third percent chance of you, and I'm divide that again, and it gives you whatever
It's
he
because he's a
says.
genetic freak, and you don't understand what type of math genetic freaks do. It's on a different level of non-genetic freak math.
Yeah, in other words, lay off the drugs or the steroids because that's done something to your genetically freaked ass.
Oh, we
So,
can't
Probably,
talk
probably,
about
bro.
drugs now. Jeff was
Probably.
notorious for that.
Look, we're not
well,
gonna
we
He
all
talk.
know that
was.
too.
He
He
We're,
was.
was
we're not gonna jump on
notorious for
Nero
that
just
now.
yet. We're not gonna jump on brother Nero just yet. We'll take some time to go into that.
I wasn't saying that. I wasn't saying that like that, but we all know that, and we all know a story with that. Anyway, back to what I was saying though. Um, it's just because in here in this modern day, the Hardys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudleys, they set the bar for the modern day tag teams. They even named a pay per view after what they did in a TLC match. That's why we have a TLC pay per view. The Hardy Boys were the ladders, the Dudleys were the tables, and ENC with the concerto. You got your tables, ladders, and chairs. But it just that's the only way that I can say it's just for the modern day era. And I'm not trying to take away anything from the Steiner brothers. It's just that in my time and in my era of watching wrestling, that they were more influential to me personally. Nothing against the Steiner brothers as a team.
Okay, okay. So I like it. I like it. So right now it's a 2-1 Steiners versus the Hardys. Steiners are having the slight edge right now. So me personally, I feel like I'm just gonna go ahead and tie this thing up. I'm gonna agree with Lady Great One on this one. I'm putting the Hardys in, and to me, it's not even close. Um, Now, don't get me wrong; these are both classic tag teams. Both carved their own path. You know, the Steiner brothers were huge in both WCW and WWF. Obviously, more of a big tag team in WCW. But when you think about the Hardys have done more for tag teams, as Lady Great One is explaining now, than the Steiner brothers did. Um, so the reason why I'm putting the Hardys in, the Hardys also outside of their tag team reign, which their tag team run was amazing as a team. This is also probably the most successful tag team that I've seen break up as single stars and still be great single stars for well over a decade, and then come back together and still be a great tag team when they get back together. So it's like you can break them up, you can keep them together. They're still going to find their way on the roster and have a spot. Scott Steiner was not somebody that people paid attention to until he cut his hair off and went blonde and had the goatee and had the genetically disordered muscles that no doubt came from steroid usage. I don't think anybody is going to dispute that. Um, but before that, I mean, nobody really paid attention to him, expecting him to be a single star. Um, Even outside of that, I mean, he's a talented wrestler, but horrible person. As Lady Great One was saying before, we've seen a lot of the stuff outside of the ring. We've heard a lot of fights that he's gotten into in the back. He pretty much badmouths everybody that has run across him in previous history. Um, as well, on top of that, I mean, Rick's single career was non-existent. We're talking about a guy that feuded with uh, Doll. He feuded with Chucky. I mean, that probably tarnished a lot of the Steiners to me. And this is one of my favorite tag teams that when I was a kid. But I'm going to go with the Hardys on this one. It's not even close to me.
Did you not hear that long, awkward pause after you said he feuded with Chucky?
Nobody had anything to say. Nobody had anything to say.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes.
I mean, shit. I mean, there's nothing that you can say after that. I mean, if we are going on a, which team broke off into singles careers and had the better light, of course it'll be the Hardys. Even though Matt did fall off the face of the earth, but Rick fell and just never resurfaced at all. Like there was like no trying again for anything. But I mean, I'm gonna still go with the Steiner brothers off of talent alone and the people that they faced, to regain titles and to, win titles or whatever. And, the Hardys will always be known as a one-trick pony to me.
I don't think so, though.
The fact that Rick Steiner actually was a big single star before his brother came, and by the time his brother got big and they split up again, Rick was a lot older. So, the end of his career, he was already done. But he had actually had a big career before Scott had ever came to wrestling.
Oh, what title did he win?
I don't remember what titles he won, but
Okay.
he was a big star in
with?
NWA. He feuded with like Ric Flair and everybody. He was back in the '80s. He was a big
did he beat
big time
Flair?
star back in the day. Huh?
Did he beat Flair?
I don't know if he beat him.
But
I had to go check it out.
I'm looking.
And see, that's the thing. You have to Google what Rick Steiner did. You know who Rick Steiner was to me as a kid? When I was a kid, the only thing that I knew Rick Steiner for, I was like, that's the guy with the earmuffs that barks. That was the first. That was the first image
gimmick,
that was the first. But what did he do outside of barking? What did he do? What did he do in the ring?
When I first started watching it, that's what I saw too. But then I had looked up some stuff, seeing like him in matches, and I was like, oh, I didn't know he started before Scott. I thought they started together, and he was like there for a little while before Scott came. I was like, oh, I didn't know that.
So as far as them being a one-trick pony, we're talking about, one of the teams that really took off with, extreme style for tag team wrestling. If we're going to say they're a one-trick pony, you would have to say the same thing for Edge and Christian, and you would have to say the same thing for the Dudleys.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, but that's technically true though. I mean, I love all of that kind of stuff, but what I'm saying is, like, you take away those elements, what are they really? Like when the Dudleys had matches, but they didn't use a table, fans were mad. Fans were pissed. Like they didn't even have to have a match. They could lose a match, but as long as they put somebody through a table, they won the match. Sort of like Randy Orton. He doesn't even have to win a match. But if he catches you with an RKO after the match, Randy don't win the match just because that's what people want to see. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things to where I think what separates the two is that Matt and Jeff, they have a whole different genre that they led, and it just, trailblazed and kept going.
So pretty much what you're saying is that they left a bigger mark on wrestling than the Steiners brothers did.
Well, this what I'm saying. No, this is what I'm saying. The Steiners left a mark on wrestling too, but that's
just
when
wasn't as big.
People just want to be classic. Like when people want to be classic wrestlers, like for the people who don't flip and jump off of stuff and want to be daredevils, they would model like the Steiners tag team, like Dawson and your boy, I can't even think of his name. They will remind you of like the Steiner brothers, like the grind, the talent, that type of stuff. the Bullet Club. You know what I'm saying? They remind you of that gritty, grinding, you know what I'm saying, beat 'em up type style. But then you got people
Strict
like
wrestling.
Finn. Right, but you got people like Finn Balor who would be more like a Hardy's type. Then you got Seth Rollins who was more like a Hardy's type. You know what I'm saying? So it's just they both have
It's
a
the
place
ground
in
and
wrestling.
pound,
Yeah,
the ground and
yeah.
pound versus the high flyers.
Yeah, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And you're always going to have a lot of those people who used to wrestle in their backyard, who used to do stuff because why? They seen the Hardys do it.
Mm-hmm.
You jumping off of trash cans, why? Because you seen Jeff, dive off of a ladder. So, but that goes back to it. That's the only thing that you was waiting to see. What is Jeff going to jump off of?
Okay. Well, we spent a lot of time on this one. I ain't gonna spend too much time going back and forth. So we locked it up on that one. It's 2 versus 2 for the
Clank,
Hardys and the
clank,
Steiners.
Okay, okay.
clank,
So
clank.
I'm gonna give you another one here.
Bring it.
The Great Muta
Ooh.
Ooh.
versus Vader. Who's going in the Hall
Oh,
of Fame? Who's getting
oh.
snubbed?
Let
Shit.
me go on and go first on this. First and foremost, Vader, by far. I love Great Muta, but by far in American wrestling, Vader was a step among himself. He was one of the most powerful, agile big men that was scary as hell. And especially as a little kid, to see him about to face your favorite, you was like, oh man, somebody else please help them because I don't think they could even stop this guy. His talent, his everything he could do at the size he was, the character, the agile, just everything about him, just it was just amazing. He has to go in.
Okay, so while we snubbing the Great Muta, y'all ain't gonna get away
because
with just saying why you're picking one
because
guy to go in. You gotta trash the other guy.
because he sprayed and missed at people. He spit it. He's known for spitting in people's faces. So
Well, that was Carlito. Come on. Come
Carlito,
on, man.
Tajiri.
we ain't got to him yet.
Bret Hart did it for real. He spit real spit.
Stupid.
So I mean, you might say the Great Muta was a trailblazer.
Hey.
Yeah, I mean, but the main thing he's known for is the mist. I mean, he was a great wrestler, moonsaults and stuff, but I don't. His legacy, especially in America, is can't compare to Vader's.
Well, I'm gonna disagree with you, and I'm gonna go ahead and hop in
Go on
next
and
on
bring
this
it.
one. I'm
Go
gonna go
on
ahead
and
and hop
bring
in next on this one. I'm going to disagree with you with the fact that Great Muta's legacy is not what the Vader's legacy is. Now, as far as who I'm going to pick into putting into the Hall of Fame and who I'm not putting in the Hall of Fame, I'm putting Vader in right now, just
Okay,
because
that's all. That's all that matters.
Vader is not. It's not as big of a gap as it probably was for you as it is for me. Vader is definitely one of my top, most favorite big men of all time. He's one of the best big men of all time. He was one of the few guys that was a hybrid in a generation where you didn't see many people go to the top rope, much less a big heavyweight go to the top rope and do a moonsault or do the Vader bomb. He did
Very
things that you don't see a normal big guy do.
Yes.
And that was definitely, I think he set the trend for people to expect more from big guys as the years went on. However, when it comes to his legacy, I'm going to say that their legacy is probably tied. And I'm going to tell you why. Vader was very huge in North America, especially in WCW or NWA. Vader also was pretty big in Japan, in Muta's territory, as a tag team wrestler with he and Bam Bam Bigelow. Now, the Great Muta was one of the first, if not the first Japanese wrestler to have success on the level of success that he had in North America. You know, this is a
Probably the
time
first
frame.
one I know.
You know, you didn't see a lot of people, you know, especially from Japan, come over and be over in North America against a North American top star. You wouldn't see, you know, a guy other than Muda come over and beat the, you know, top guy in a company like Sting, or, you know, put on a great match